The foreman tells you losing 3 fingers is lucky. You still have 7 left to work with. He says this while holding your severed digits in his augmetic hand. Your blood drips from the mangled stumps. The press that took them continues its rhythm. Thud, thud, thud. Already crushing the next piece of scrap metal. Indifferent. Your blood mixes with the grease on the factory floor. Just another fluid in the system. You're 9 years old. The foreman wraps your hand in a filthy rag. Sends you back to your station. There's a quota to meet. Your mother's shift doesn't end for another 8 hours. She can't leave her line to check on you. Your little sister, 3 rows down, doesn't even look up when you scream. She learned not to. Sound carries in the factoriums. Sympathy doesn't survive here. This is the Imperium's factoriums, where the galaxy's endless war machine is fed. And this is just an ordinary day. My name doesn't matter. In the Administratum records, I'm Production Unit 7 Theta 4429 Secundus, but my mother called me Kale. In the few private moments before the work bells rang, I'm 32 years old, ancient by factorium standards. Most people born here don't see 20. I've watched 3 generations come and go in my section alone. I'm telling you this story because someone should know. Someone should understand what it means when your Imperial Guard Regiment's lasgun is marked Manufactured Factorum Primus, Hive Septimus Volstad. Someone assembled that weapon. Someone died making it. Probably several someones. The factoriums are the Imperium's industrial heart. Millions of production facilities across thousands of worlds, churning out everything from ammunition to ship components to the very servitors that help run the lines. Marvels of efficiency. Monuments to human suffering. They transform raw materials into war material at a rate that would be impossible without the Imperium's most abundant resource. Human lives. I should know. I've been paying that price since before I could walk. You are not recruited to the factoriums. You are born into them. My family line has worked press line 7 for 6 generations. My great-great-grandmother was assigned here during the Reconquista of Volstad, when they needed to triple ammunition production for the war against the Orc invasion. She survived 14 years before a coolant leak dissolved her lungs. Her daughter took her place the next day, age 7. This is how it works. When a worker dies or is converted to a servitor, their eldest child assumes their station. The Administratum's labor records are meticulous. They track bloodlines, like the Mechanicus tracks serial numbers. Because to them, we are serial numbers. I was born in sleeping compartment 7 Theta, 17 meters from the factory floor. My mother's water broke during her shift. She had 9 minutes to deliver me before the shift foreman marked her absent. She made it. 3 minutes to spare. I spent my first 5 years in the corner of our compartment, 3 meters by 4 meters, shared with my mother, father, older brother, and 2 younger sisters. The walls were rusted metal. The floor was stained concrete. The air tasted of oil and ozone even there. The factory never slept. Neither did we. Not really. The constant roar of machinery, the hiss of steam vents, the screaming of metal on metal. It was the lullaby of my childhood. On your 5th birthday, you become property of the Administratum. I remember that day. The way you remember a fever dream, fragments that don't quite fit together but leave you shaken. My mother woke me before the shift bells rang. She'd saved a portion of her gruel ration for a week to make me something special. A paste made from protein slurry mixed with synthetic flavoring. Supposed to taste like fruit. It tasted like chemicals and desperation. It was the kindest thing anyone had ever done for me. "Today you become a worker," she said, her voice hollow. She was 31 then. A year younger than I am now. She looked 60. "Remember, watch your hands. Trust nothing. The quota is everything. Do you understand?" I nodded. I didn't understand. Not then. The administratum clerk arrived with 2 enforcers. They always travel in pairs to the factoriums. Even the enforcers fear this place. The clerk scanned my mother's identification chip, verified my genetic lineage, updated the labor records. Then he produced the brand. Small device, no bigger than a data slate stylus. But when he pressed it against my right shoulder, the pain was cosmic. The laser brand burned through skin and muscle, carving the administratum's mark into my flesh. A number, a production line assignment, and the Aquila. "The Emperor's 2-headed eagle," I screamed. The clerk didn't flinch. He'd done this thousands of times. Would do it thousands more. "Production Unit 7 Theta 4429 Secundus," he intoned. Flat. Mechanical. "You are now registered in service to the Imperium of Man. Assigned to press line 7. Factorum Primus. Hive Septimus. The Emperor protects." My mother gripped my other shoulder. I felt her nails dig into my skin. She was trying not to cry. Crying accomplished nothing in the factoriums. "Your first shift begins immediately. No training period. No gentle introduction. You are brought to your station, shown what to do once. Expected to maintain pace with workers who've been doing this for years. If you can't keep up, you slow the line. If you slow the line, you're punished. If you continue to slow the line, you're replaced. My station was a sorting table at the beginning of press line 7. Simple job. Scrap metal arrives on a conveyor belt. I separate it by type. Ferrous metals left, non-ferrous right. Ceramics and plastics center. 3 seconds per piece. 16 hours. That's 19,200 sorting decisions. I was 5 years old. The veteran sorter showed me the technique exactly once. Ferrous is magnetic, heavier. Clink. Non-ferrous is lighter, copper, aluminum, tink. Everything else goes center, 3 seconds per piece. The belt runs for 16 hours. Questions? I opened my mouth. She was already walking away. The belt started. Panic. The pieces came so fast. An endless stream of jagged metal scraps, some still hot, some slick with oil, some sharp enough to slice open your palm. 3 seconds. 3 seconds. 3 seconds. I made it 2 hours before I made my first mistake. A piece of copper alloy went into the ferrous bin. The line stopped. The shift foreman was at my station in seconds. Large man, augmented with basic cybernetics. A mechanical right arm that could crush a human skull. Enhanced optical implants glowing red in the low light. A vocabulator that made his voice boom over the factory noise. He grabbed me by my branded shoulder, lifted me off the ground, brought me level with his face. "Do you know what you've cost us?" I shook my head, terrified. 47 seconds of production. 47 seconds of Emperor-blessed components that will not reach the Astra Militarum. 47 seconds closer to quotas unmet. He squeezed my shoulder. The fresh brand burned. Guardsmen die without ammunition. Ships float dead in space without components. The Imperium falls because children cannot sort metal properly. Do you understand? I nodded, tears streaming down my face. Good. He dropped me back at my station. The belt resumed. That was the last time I cried at work. Crying wastes time. Time is production. Production is everything. Your first shift is 16 hours long. There are no breaks, no meals during the shift, no bathroom facilities on the factory floor. You relieve yourself in a bucket at your station, if your station has one. Many don't. You learn to hold it. You learn what your body can endure. The noise is constant and overwhelming. The press line alone generates sound at levels that would be illegal on most civilized imperial worlds. But factoriums are not civilized worlds. They are production facilities. Worker hearing is irrelevant to output. By age 10, most workers are partially deaf. By 20, most are functionally deaf. The foremen and supervisors have hearing protection. The workers do not. Hearing protection costs resources. Replacing workers costs nothing. There's always another child reaching age 5. The air is toxic. The factorium's ventilation system was designed for the machines, not the workers. Chemical fumes from solvents, smoke from welding operations, particulate matter from grinding and cutting, it all hangs in the air like a physical presence. You breathe it every minute of every shift. It coats your lungs, infiltrates your bloodstream, shortens your life with every breath. But you don't think about that during your first shift. During your first shift, you think about surviving the next hour, then the next, then the next. I watched a boy die during my first shift. He was maybe 7, working a punch press 2 rows over. He was tired. Everyone is tired. His hand slipped. The press came down. It's designed to punch through centimeter-thick steel plate. A child's hand doesn't slow it at all. The press completed its cycle. The boy's hand was gone, crushed flat and embedded in the pressed component below. He stared at the stump, screaming. Blood sprayed across the factory floor in arterial pulses. A Medikey servitor arrived within 30 seconds. Their response time is optimized. It administered a coagulant injection, wrapped the stump in synth skin, and returned to standby position. Whole process took 90 seconds. The boy was pulled from the line and sent to the recovery bay. His younger sister was brought up from the children's hole to replace him within 10 minutes. The line never stopped. I learned an important truth during that first shift. In the factoriums, you are not a person. You are a component in a larger machine. And components that break are simply replaced. The quota is everything. The quota is survival. The quota is death. Every production line has a daily output target established by the administratum. Not suggestions. Absolute requirements backed by the full authority of the Imperium of man. Meeting quota means your line continues operation. Missing quota means investigation. Punishment. Potential shutdown. When a line shuts down, its workers are reassigned. Reassignment means servitor conversion for adults. Transfer to even worse lines for children. There is always a worse line. Press line 7's quota. 48,000 pressed components. Every day. No exceptions. Not for equipment failure. Not for power outages. Not for worker deaths. Not for anything. The Imperium needs those components. The war effort depends on them. The alternative to meeting quota is being labeled a traitor to humanity. Traitors are dealt with harshly. Each hour, the line's output is measured. If you're behind pace, the foreman identifies the slowest workers. Punishments are immediate. Public. They have to be. Fear keeps everyone moving. I watched my mother's friend fall behind during an evening shift. She'd been coughing all day. Blood on her lips. Lung rot. Everyone gets it eventually. The foreman pulled her to the center of the factory floor where everyone could see. This worker has fallen behind quota pace for the 3rd time this shift. When one fails, all suffer. He activated the shock collar. Every worker wears one. Standard administratum issue. Thin band around the neck. Just enough voltage to cause pain without permanent damage. Usually, she convulsed, falling. The shock lasted 10 seconds. When it ended, she was gasping. Eyes rolled back. Return to your station, maintain pace. She couldn't stand. 2 workers dragged her back to her table. She lasted another hour before collapsing completely. I never saw her again. Her daughter, aged 12, took her place the next shift. The pace is inhuman by design. The administratum's efficiency calculations are based on servitor performance. Tireless mechanical precision. Human workers are expected to match this without cybernetic enhancement. It's impossible. But that's the point. The impossible standard ensures maximum effort. If humans could meet quota comfortably, the quota would be raised. At age 9, I could sort for maybe 6 hours before my hands started shaking. By hour 10, I was making mistakes. By hour 14, pure muscle memory. My mind disconnected. The final 2 hours were a blur of pain and mechanical motion. This is normal. This is how everyone works. Veteran workers develop survival techniques. Bursts of maximum effort. Brief, slower periods, timed to avoid the foreman's attention. Learning which supervisors can be fooled. Learning how to work while essentially sleeping. Bodies moving. Minds shut down to conserve energy. My mother taught me these tricks in the brief moments between shifts. 26 years on the line. She knew everyone. Never look tired, she told me once. Voice barely audible over factory noise. Tired workers attract attention. The foremen watch for weakness. Once they mark you, you're finished. She was right. I watched them mark a man during my 3rd year. He'd slowed down. Barely noticeable. The foremen notice everything. 3 days of observation. Recording output. Noting every micro break. 4th day they pulled him from the line. Servitor conversion. He was back on the factory floor within a week. Consciousness erased. Body augmented with mechanical components. Humanity stripped away to create a perfect worker. I saw him often after that. Overnight maintenance shift. Repairing equipment. Cleaning floors. He walked past me sometimes. Dead eyes staring straight ahead. I wondered if any part of him was still aware. Trapped in that meat and metal shell. Screaming silently forever. I was 12 when I stopped wondering. The answer didn't matter. Wondering wasted energy. Energy was needed for the quota. Industrial accidents are not aberrations. They are statistical certainties. Presses that can flatten steel. Saws that cut through bulkheads. Chemical baths that dissolve flesh in seconds. Safety protocols are minimal. Safety equipment reduces productivity. Worker replacement is cheaper than safety measures. The administratum's calculations are precise. A worker costs X to house and feed. A worker produces Y output over their expected lifetime. When Y minus maintenance falls below replacement cost, the worker becomes economically inefficient. We are cheaper dead than protected. I was 14 when I saw my first major accident. Hydraulic press system failure. A seal ruptured. High-pressure fluid in a supersonic jet. The spray hit 3 workers. 300 degrees. They died screaming. Skin flash boiling off their bodies. Press repaired. 4 hours. Bodies removed. 2 hours. New workers assigned. Next shift. Quota met. At 15, a woman caught in a conveyor belt. Sleeve snagged. Belt pulled her in. The gears didn't stop for flesh. They pulled her through, breaking her apart. The belt ran red for an hour. Her daughter was 2 stations away. She kept working. What else could she do? At 17, I lost my fingers. 3 of them. A sorting error sent superheated metal through my station. I grabbed it. Pure reflex. The heat welded it to my palm. Skin fused. The metal tore through my hand when it finally fell. 3 fingers gone. The pain was extraordinary, but I knew better than to leave my station. I wrapped my hand in a rag and kept working. The quota had to be met. 3 fingers or not. The rhythm had to be maintained. After my shift ended, the medica servitor's assessment was efficient. Damage too extensive for reattachment. Fingers already processed as biological waste. Industrial solvent cleaning. Synth skin seal. Antibiotic injection. 4 minutes total. Report to your station next shift. Functionality reduced by 15%. Adjust sorting technique accordingly. Failure to maintain quota pace will result in disciplinary action. Chronic conditions are universal. Respiratory disease from toxic air. Repetitive strain from mechanical motion. Chemical burns. Hearing loss. Vision degradation. Malnutrition. We are breaking down slowly. Our bodies consuming themselves to maintain the pace the Imperium demands. When we break completely, there are always more workers to replace us. Life outside the 16-hour shift barely qualifies as life. 8 hours before the next shift begins. 8 hours to eat, sleep, maintain your body. Pretend you're still human. It's never enough. Sleeping compartments. Families packed into spaces barely large enough for one. My family of 6. 3 meters by 4 meters. We slept in shifts. Bodies packed like cargo. Someone always coming or going. Factory noise penetrating everything. Privacy doesn't exist. Bathing. Communal cold water showers. 5 minutes maximum. Dozens of bodies packed together. You learn to wash quickly, mechanically, without thought. Modesty is a luxury no one can afford. Food. Distributed by administratum servitors. NutriPaste. Protein slurry. Vitamin supplements. Everything beige or gray. Everything tastes like industrial residue. Calculated to provide exactly enough calories to maintain work capacity. No more, no less. Hunger is constant. Everyone is always hungry. Portions determined by production capacity. Injured workers get smaller rations. The system is elegant in its cruelty. If you can't work as hard, you don't deserve as much food. Without food, you'll work even less hard. The spiral only goes one direction. Human connection survives. Barely. In the spaces between shifts. My mother spent her precious sleep hours talking to us, trying to maintain some sense of family despite the system designed to grind all bonds to dust. She'd tell stories, not fairy tales. We lived beyond those. Stories of her mother before her, the family line that had worked this same factory for generations. Your grandmother once saved an entire shift from shutdown. The main power conduit failed. She climbed into the electrical junction to manually reroute the flow. 3rd degree burns over 40% of her body. She worked her next shift anyway. That's our blood. That's who you come from. These stories were supposed to be inspiring. They were horror tales we'd learned to call heritage. My parents loved each other, I think. Small gestures. My father saving part of his ration when my mother was sick. My mother adjusting her sleep cycle to spend more time with him. They'd been paired by administrative mandate. Genetic diversity protocols. But somewhere in the horror, they'd found something real. My father died when I was 19. Chemical spill. Maintenance tech. The spill dissolved his lungs. He drowned on dry land, his body's own fluids filling the space where breathing should have been. My mother didn't cry. She couldn't afford to. 3 more years of work ahead. Quotas to meet. Younger children to keep alive. She went to her next shift on time. The Imperium doesn't care about your grief. The worst part about the factoriums is watching your own children inherit your chains. I watched my younger sister turn 5, receive her brand, start her first shift. She cried that entire first day, her small hands bleeding from the metal scraps, her face pale with exhaustion. I wanted to help her, to carry her burden, to do anything to spare her this. But I couldn't. I had my own quota to meet, my own survival to maintain. The system doesn't allow for mercy, even between siblings. She adjusted, like we all adjust. By age 7, she could work the full 16 hours with the mechanical efficiency we all develop. By age 9, she'd lost 2 fingers to the press. By age 12, she was pregnant. The administratum's breeding mandates, ensuring the next generation of workers. By age 15, she was dead. Lung rot, same as our mother's friend. Her daughter took her place. This is the cycle. This is how the Imperium perpetuates itself. We are livestock, and we breed more livestock, and our children breed more livestock, and the factory never stops consuming us. My own children. I have 2 sons now, ages 8 and 6. They're already on the factory floor. I watch them receive their brands. I watch them start their first shifts. I saw the same terror in their eyes that my mother must have seen in mine. I teach them what I can in the brief hours we have together. The same survival techniques my mother taught me. How to pace yourself. How to avoid the foreman's attention. How to work through injuries. How to not think about the horror of what we're doing. But mostly I teach them acceptance. Because that's all I have left to give them. Accept that this is life. Accept that it will never change. Accept that you will die here, and your children will die here, and their children after them. Accept it, or it will drive you mad. Many don't accept it. Many go mad anyway. Mental collapse is common in the factoriums. The human mind isn't designed for this existence. The constant stress, the perpetual exhaustion, the endless horror, the complete absence of hope, it breaks people. Some break quickly. Some break slowly. Everyone breaks, eventually. I've seen workers start talking to themselves, having conversations with people who aren't there. I've seen workers stop talking entirely, becoming as mechanical as the servitors, their eyes empty. I've seen workers try to end it, throwing themselves into machinery, drinking toxic chemicals, anything to escape. The administratum has protocols for this. The obviously broken are removed from the production lines and converted to servitors. The quietly broken are left in place. As long as they maintain quota pace, their sanity is irrelevant. The suicidal are restrained and returned to work. Suicide is theft of imperial property. Your body belongs to the emperor. It is not yours to destroy. There's a man on my line who hasn't spoken in 7 years. He sorts metal with perfect accuracy, maintains pace perfectly, never makes mistakes. But his eyes are dead. Completely dead. He's functionally a servitor already, just one that hasn't been formally converted yet. The foremen leave him alone. He meets quota. I worry I'm becoming like him. Some days, I realize I've worked an entire shift without a single conscious thought. My hands move through the sorting motions automatically. My body maintains the rhythm without my mind's participation. I am becoming the machine. Is that breaking, or is that surviving? In the factoriums, there might not be a difference. There is a hierarchy in the factoriums, though it's more of a cliff than a ladder. At the bottom are the line workers, us. Expendable, replaceable, innumerable. We are the vast majority, the foundation of production, the meat fed into the machine. Above us are the shift foremen, workers who survived long enough, demonstrated enough loyalty, showed enough cruelty to be promoted. They enforce quotas, maintain discipline, ensure production never stops. Most are augmented with basic cybernetics, mechanical limbs, enhanced optics, vocabulators. They stand between human and servitor, neither one nor the other. Above them are the overseers, administratum officials who manage entire factorum complexes. They rarely come to the factory floor. They work in offices with filtered air, reviewing production reports, adjusting quotas, making the calculations that determine who lives and who dies. To them, we are numbers in spreadsheets. Above them are the planetary administrators, the sector coordinators, the endless bureaucratic chains that stretch all the way to Holy Terra itself. They don't think about us at all. We are too far beneath their notice. And at the very top, in theory, is the Emperor himself, the God Emperor of mankind, for whom all this suffering exists. Every component we produce, every quota we meet, every life we sacrifice, it's all in his name, for the Imperium, for humanity's survival. Sometimes, during the worst moments, I wonder if the Emperor knows we exist, if he sees what's done in his name, if he would approve of the system that grinds up billions of his subjects to feed his war machine. But such thoughts are dangerous. Questioning the Emperor is heresy, and heresy means execution at best, servitor conversion at worst. So I stop wondering. Wondering changes nothing. The work continues. The greatest fear in the factoriums is not death. Death is mercy. The greatest fear is servitor conversion. Servitors are what happens when the mechanicus decides your body is worth more than your mind. Cyborg slaves. Human bodies lobotomized and augmented with machinery. Consciousness erased. Humanity stripped away. Transformed into living tools. The mechanicus is always recruiting. They need an endless supply. The Imperium runs on servitors, ship crews, equipment maintenance, combat units, dangerous tasks even the administratum won't waste fully conscious humans on. In the factoriums, servitor conversion is the punishment for repeated quota failures. 3 strikes. You're marked for processing. But it's also presented as an opportunity. When workers are too old, too injured, too worn to maintain productivity, they're offered a choice. Retirement to the underhive, where you'll starve. Or voluntary conversion, where you'll continue to serve the Emperor. Most choose conversion. At least as a servitor you'll be fed. At least you'll have purpose. At least you won't starve in the darkness. But I've seen what the process does. I've seen workers dragged to the mechanicus processing centers. Gray buildings at the edge of the factorum complex. No windows. Just intake doors. I've heard the screams that echo from those facilities. High-pitched at first, then gurgling, then nothing. The silence is worse than the screaming. I've seen what comes out the other side. Hollow shells wearing familiar faces. Eyes replaced with optical sensors. Red lights where humanity used to look out. Minds erased. Personalities deleted. Additional limbs grafted on. Mechanical arms ending in tools. Cutting implements. Welding torches. Whatever the mechanicus determined the body could best support, a servitor that used to be your friend will walk past you without recognition. Its face might be the same. The way it moves might echo who they were. But inside, there's nothing. Just programming. Just directives. Just endless service to the Omnissiah. A servitor that used to be your father will follow its programming without hesitation. You could stand in front of it, call its name, beg it to remember. It will route around you like your furniture. Because to its remaining processing capacity, you are furniture. An obstacle, nothing more. A servitor that used to be you will continue working in the same factorum, performing the same tasks, just more efficiently, perfectly, mechanically, dead. I think about this often, more than I should, what it would be like. The lobotomy. Do they keep you conscious? Do you feel the blades entering your skull? The laser scalpels severing the connections that make you, you. Do you experience the moment your personality is deleted? Or is it like falling asleep and you simply never wake up? I've asked foremen. They don't know. Or won't say. The mechanicus doesn't share details of the conversion process. They consider it sacred, a merging of flesh and machine, the Omnissiah's blessing. I consider it the worst fate imaginable, worse than any death. Because at least in death you end. In servitor conversion your body continues. Your meat and bones keep functioning, keep serving, keep working. But you, the person you were, the thoughts you thought, the fears you had, the people you loved, gone, erased, deleted like corrupted data, and the thing that remains wears your face like a mask. The cruelty of the factorium system isn't incidental, it's designed. The administratum has calculated every aspect of factorium operation for maximum efficiency. The impossible quotas, the minimal safety measures, the inadequate rations, the brutal punishments, all of it is intentional. They've determined that this level of suffering produces optimal output. They've done studies. I've heard foremen discuss it. The administratum researched various worker treatment models across thousands of factoriums. They compared productivity across different levels of worker welfare. And they discovered something that damned us all. Happy workers are less productive than desperate workers. Workers with adequate rest produce less than exhausted workers who fear punishment. Workers with proper safety equipment are more careful, which slows production. Workers with sufficient food are content, which reduces motivation. The system that produces the most output is the system that keeps workers on the edge of collapse, terrified, starving, desperate. So that's the system they implemented, galaxy-wide. We are not victims of administrative incompetence. We are not suffering because the Imperium lacks resources to treat us better. We are suffering because our suffering has been calculated to be the most efficient path to production. The Emperor's Imperium, in its infinite wisdom, has determined that this is necessary, that this is justified, that our endless torment serves the greater good. And we have no choice but to accept it. There is no escape from the factoriums. Every path leads to the same destination. You can work hard, meet quotas, survive as long as possible. Eventually your body fails. Productivity drops. You're marked for servitor conversion. You can resist, rebel, refuse. You'll be executed publicly. Body processed as biological materials. Children punished for your defiance. You can try to escape. There's nowhere to go. The factorium is the entire world. The underhive below offers only starvation. The upper hive is closed to workers. The only way off planet is death, or servitor conversion. You can go mad. They'll convert you anyway. Your body still has value. You can try to improve your situation, earn a promotion, become a foreman. Then you become the system. You enforce the suffering. You punish your former colleagues. You become what you hate. And eventually, that destroys you just as thoroughly. The only real choice is how long you suffer before the inevitable end. And even that's not much of a choice. Your body decides that for you. My mother worked the factorium for 37 years. She survived long enough to see her children reach adulthood. She met more quotas than most workers see in a lifetime. She did everything right. She followed every rule, maintained every standard, never complained, never faltered, never showed weakness. It didn't matter. The lung rot, that had been building for decades finally reached critical mass. The toxic air we all breathe. The chemical fumes. The particulate matter. Decades of it accumulating in her lungs, turning the tissue hard, scarred, useless. She couldn't breathe without wheezing, couldn't work a full shift without collapsing. Her productivity dropped below minimum acceptable levels. The shift foreman marked her. She knew what was coming. We all knew. There was no fighting it, no appeals. The system is absolute. When you can no longer contribute to the quota, you become waste. And waste is processed. They came for her during the night shift. 3 weeks after she'd been marked. Mechanicus tech priests, 2 of them, robed in red, augmented beyond recognition. Human faces replaced with mechanical masks. Eyes replaced with optical arrays. Hands replaced with manipulator claws. Behind them, servitor attendants. 4 of them. Heavy lifter models. In case she resisted, she didn't resist. I was there. In our compartment. My brothers and sisters. Her grandchildren sleeping in the corner. She'd known they were coming. You always know. The marked workers are given 24 hours notice. Administrative efficiency. It allows time to settle affairs. As if we have affairs to settle. She sat on the edge of her sleeping mat, hands folded in her lap. She'd cleaned herself that morning. Best she could with cold water in 5 minutes. Put on her least-torn work clothes. Tried to make herself presentable. For what, I don't know. The mechanicus doesn't care what you look like going in. You all look the same coming out. The tech priest stood in the doorway, augmetic voice flat, emotionless. Production Unit 7 Theta 4428 Primus. You have been selected for conversion to servitor. This is a great honor. You will continue to serve the Omnissiah, the God Emperor, the Imperium of man. Do you accept this calling? My mother looked at us one last time, me and my siblings. Her grandchildren, she tried to speak, but the lung rot made her cough instead. Deep, wet, rattling. Blood flecked her lips, more blood than before. She coughed into her hand, looked at the blood, then looked back at us. She tried to smile. It was the saddest thing I've ever seen. Then she nodded to the tech priest. I accept. The servitors moved forward, precise, mechanical. They didn't grab her roughly, didn't drag her. They helped her stand, almost gentle, almost kind. But there was no kindness in it. Just programming, just efficiency. Handle the components carefully so they don't damage before processing. She walked between them. Toward the door. Toward the processing center. Toward the end of everything she was. She stopped at the doorway. Looked back one more time. Not at all of us. At me. Just me. The oldest. The one who'd remember her the longest. The one who'd watched her longest. The one who was most like her. She opened her mouth. I thought she would say something. Some final words. Some goodbye. Some benediction. Some comfort. But the lung rot made her cough again. Harder this time. She doubled over. More blood. So much blood. The tech priest made an electronic sound. Impatience. The servitors moved her forward. Out the door. Down the corridor. Gone. That was the last time I saw my mother, coughing blood in a doorway, unable to speak, unable to say goodbye. Just gone. I didn't sleep that night. None of us did. We lay in the darkness, listening to the factory noise, pretending we weren't imagining what was happening to her, pretending we couldn't picture the processing center, the restraint tables, the surgical equipment, the lobotomy lasers. Did they sedate her? Or did they want her conscious? Did she feel it when they cut into her skull? When they severed the parts of her brain that made her, her. Did she have one final moment of awareness before the darkness? One last thought? One last memory of us? Or did it just stop, like a light switching off? One moment, consciousness. The next, nothing. Just programming. Just directives. Just meat and metal and service to the machine. 3 weeks later, I saw her. I was working my station, mid-shift. The usual rhythm. Sorting metal. 3 seconds per piece. Not thinking, just moving. And then I heard it. The particular whir of a heavy maintenance servitor. We all learn to recognize them. The sounds they make. The patterns of their movement. This one was close. Very close. I glanced up, and there she was. Servitor Model 7T Maintenance Gamma. The designation stenciled on her shoulder. Black letters on red fabric stretched over metal and dead flesh. They'd replaced her diseased lungs with a mechanical respirator. I could see it. Bolted to her chest. Through her torn work clothes. Pumping rhythmically. Hissing with each cycle. They'd augmented her arms with enhanced servo motors. Replaced her hands with gripping claws. Cleaning implements. She was cleaning the factory floor. Mopping. Picking up debris. Precise movements. Efficient. Perfect. Mechanical. Her face. Her face was almost unchanged. That was the worst part. They'd replaced her eyes. Red optical sensors where her eyes used to be. But the rest. Her face. Her features. The shape of her nose. Her mouth. The scar on her left cheek from an accident when she was young. All still there. All still recognizable. But wrong. So wrong. Her expression was blank. Completely blank. No emotion. No awareness. No recognition. No life. Just empty. A face that looked like my mother, worn by something that wasn't. She moved toward my station, her assigned cleaning route. She would pass within arm's length of me. I didn't move. I couldn't. I just watched her approach. This thing, this servitor, this dead shell wearing my mother's face. She reached my station, began cleaning around it. Around me. Her movements precise, efficient, not looking at me, not seeing me, just cleaning, following her programming, following her directives. I said her name, quietly, barely a whisper, hoping, praying to the emperor I don't believe in, hoping for something, anything, some flicker of recognition, some sign that she was still in there, still aware, still my mother. Nothing. She continued cleaning, moved past my station, continued down the line, the whir of her servo motors fading as she moved away. I watched her go. This thing that used to be my mother, this servitor, this shell. And I realized she'd gotten her wish. She was still serving the emperor, still contributing to the Imperium, still part of the machine. But my mother was gone. The thing wearing her face was just another tool, another component, another piece of the infinite machine that is the Imperium of man. I haven't cried since I was 5 years old, since my first shift, since the foreman grabbed me by my branded shoulder and taught me that crying accomplishes nothing. But that day after my shift ended, in the darkness of the sleeping compartment, I wept. Silently, so no one would hear, because if the foreman knew you were breaking, they'd mark you next. But I wept. For my mother, for myself, for my children, for every soul trapped in this system, for everyone who'd ever been fed into the machine. And I wept because I knew, someday soon, that would be me. Walking past my own children with dead eyes and mechanical precision, and they would watch me go. And they would weep in the darkness. And the cycle would continue. Forever. I'm 32 years old. I'm ancient by factorium standards. My body is failing. My hands shake constantly now. The missing fingers make sorting harder. My lungs are scarred from decades of toxic fumes. I cough blood most mornings. My hearing is almost completely gone. My vision is deteriorating. I'm slowing down. I can feel it. Some shifts, I struggle to maintain the sorting rhythm. The foremen are watching me more closely. I see them marking their data slates when they think I'm not looking. I know what's coming. My sons are 10 and 8 now. Old enough to maintain their stations without me. Old enough to survive my absence. The administratum's calculations will determine I'm no longer cost-effective soon. Months, maybe. A year at most. Then they'll mark me. I'll be given the same choice as my mother, servitor conversion or death. And like her, I'll choose conversion. Because at least as a servitor, my body continues to serve. At least I'll have purpose. At least I won't know what I've become. My younger son asked me yesterday what happens when workers get old. He's starting to notice, starting to understand the cycle. I told him the truth, because lies don't serve anyone in the factoriums. We serve the Emperor until we can't serve any more, I said. Then we serve him in new ways. He nodded. He'll learn to accept it, like we all do, like his children will. Like every generation trapped in this system learns to accept the unacceptable. My oldest son is already showing the signs I remember from my own childhood. The mechanical efficiency, the emotional shutdown, the acceptance of horror as normalcy. Yesterday, he lost a finger to the sorting press, the same press that took 3 of mine. He wrapped it himself and continued working. He met his quota. When I saw him after the shift, he seemed almost proud. I was lucky, he said, echoing the words I heard decades ago. I still have 9 left. I saw my mother's eyes looking out from his young face. I saw myself at his age. I saw the endless cycle perpetuating itself. And I realized, this is the true horror. Not the suffering itself, but how we learn to accept it, how we normalize it, how we pass it on to our children like it's an inheritance worth having, how we call survival luck and continued suffering service. The factoriums don't just consume our bodies, they consume our ability to imagine anything different. They consume our capacity for hope. They consume the part of humanity that dreams of better futures. We are born into machines, we work the machines, we die in the machines, and we teach our children that this is honorable, this is duty, this is service to the Emperor. Maybe it is. Maybe our suffering is necessary. Maybe the Imperium truly needs every component we produce, and the cost in human misery is justified by the alternative. Or maybe we're just livestock who've learned to believe our own slaughter serves a purpose. I don't know anymore. And not knowing is its own torture. The factoriums produce approximately 40% of the Imperium's war material, trillions of components annually, uncountable tonnage of weapons, armor, ammunition, equipment. Every piece is made by human hands. Every piece costs human lives. When your Imperial Guard regiment receives new lost gun power packs, remember, someone sorted the metal for those. Someone assembled the components. Someone died, a little bit at a time, to forge them. When your Navy ship's engines fire, remember, someone manufactured those parts. Someone breathed toxic fumes to create them. Someone lost their humanity in service to the machine. When the Imperium's war machine grinds forward, consuming entire alien civilizations, remember what fuels it. Not just promethium and plasma. Not just faith and fury. But the bodies and souls of billions of Imperial citizens who never left the factory floors they were born on. We are the price of the Imperium's survival. We are the sacrifice no one acknowledges. We are the fuel that feeds the machine. The foreman tells you losing 3 fingers is lucky. You still have 7 left to work with. He's right. You do still have 7 fingers left. 7 chances to serve the Emperor. 7 opportunities to contribute to humanity's survival. 7 reasons not to be marked for servitor conversion. Yet, the quota must be met. The work must continue. The machine must be fed. And you are part of the machine now. You always were. You always will be. Until they decide you're worth more as a servitor than a worker. Until they erase your mind and augment your body and transform you into something more efficient. Until you become what you've feared since you were 5 years old, standing in line for your brand, listening to your mother try not to cry. My name is Production Unit 7 Theta 4429 Secundus. The Administratum calls me Kale, when they bother to use names at all. I'm 32 years old. I've worked Press Line 7 for 27 years. I'm one of the lucky ones. I've survived this long. But my luck is running out. I can feel it. In the weakness of my hands. In the blood I cough up each morning. In the way the foremen watch me. Soon, I'll join my mother. Soon I'll walk these factory floors with dead eyes and mechanical precision. Soon I'll be nothing but another component in the Emperor's infinite machine. The Emperor protects. We repeat that phrase, like a prayer. Like a promise. Like it means something. But here in the factoriums, we know the truth. The Emperor protects the Imperium. We just fuel the protection.